Hello friend, how you doing? So, you're interested in some cheap JDM goodness, huh? And you may think, man, there ain't no way you can find a nice JDM car in today's day and age for 5 grand. But you can. You just have to lower your expectations. It's the same for me. When I ask a girl out, it's unreasonable of me to ask something like a Victoria's Secret model, right? So I lower my expectation and settle for something less. So let's get to it. Number 5. Nissan 350Z. The 350Z is kind of like McDonald's. It's kind of bland, it doesn't really taste that well, but it's cheap and you know what you're gonna get. I mean, for someone who's never eaten a burger before, I wouldn't really recommend them to go to McDonald's for the first experience. The difference here is that the 350Z is actually quite a good entry-level Japanese sports car. It looks good, it features a 3.5 liter V6 producing around 300 horsepower, it's rear-wheel drive and makes quite a compelling sound. And unlike many other sports cars, it's actually affordable. In modern age, the 350Z doesn't really scream performance.
And there's the finish line. Power!
But when it launched in early 2000, it received many awards, such as the Japanese Performance Car of the Year, Most Significant Vehicle of the Year, Best New Design, or my personal favorite, International Car of the Year, Most Sex Appeal Award. Yeah, that's right. And when I think about it, maybe I should buy one myself. Anyways, the 350Z is also surprisingly reliable. The V6 engine, known as VQ35DE, is robust and it can handle a spanking or two. And if something breaks, or maybe you like to upgrade something, there is an abundance of aftermarket parts available for the 350Z. With that said, you can certainly find a 350Z for around $5,000 and honestly, I think it's a lot of car for the money. Number 4. Toyota MR2. If the 350Z was the equivalent of McDonald's, then the Toyota MR2 is more like a feral dog. You don't really know what kind of dog it is. Is it going to attack you? Does it want some pets? Nobody knows until the deed is done. You see, while the 350Z is quite predictable in the way it drives, the Toyota MR2 is not. And I will go more into that detail, but first I need to tell you a little bit about the MR2. The MR2 stands for Midship Runabout 2-Seater, and while that alone won't tell you much, it also refers to the vehicle's layout being mid-engine, rear-wheel drive and being a 2-seater. That means the MR2 is perfect for the JDM enthusiast who's seeking a supercar feel, but in a rather small package. A significantly smaller package. The MR2 came in 3 generations from 1984 through 2007, but for 5 grand you're more or less restricted to the 3rd generation, which was produced between 1999 and 2007. The 3rd generation is powered by a 1.8 liter inline 4 producing about 140 horsepower, and while that may not seem like much, you have to take into consideration that this car weighs less than 1000 kilograms or 2195 pounds, which makes it ideal on a twisty road. But when you're driving at the limit, especially on a twisty road, you need to know what is considered as snap oversteer. Let me explain to you the phenomena of snap oversteer.
Listen up everybody, I have some news. We are screwed.
Because the MR2 is mid-engine, a lot of the weight is placed in the rear of the vehicle in comparison to a front-engine car. And what happens when you go fast and need to let off the gas or brake is that all the weight from the rear transitions to the front. This means that the rear becomes extremely light and becomes prone to oversteer. So, when you turn and let off the gas, what will happen is that you'll spin out. Number 3. Honda Del Sol. The Honda Del Sol is quite an oddball. Most people don't know it exists. A few people completely despises it, and even less completely adores it. You see, while the Del Sol might be the perfect car for Fred over here, it may on the other side be a complete disaster for Bob.
There's a wet spring in central Vermont.
God damn it, Haley! The guy pushed me in the damn road!
And since the Del Sol was only manufactured for one generation, it's clear to say that Fred is very upset. And why is Fred upset? Well, the Del Sol wasn't really particularly great in any field, but it had character and it gave off some great driver sensation. And if you ignore the fact that the Del Sol suffered a variety of quality issues, such as leaking targa roofs, faulty auxiliary lighting and bad interior quality, well, then the Del Sol was actually quite a nice car. It featured impressive handling, great fuel economy, and it was easily affordable. In the US, the Honda Del Sol was powered with a variety of different engines. The ones you're likely to find, however, are two different 1.6-liter inline-4 engines, one without VTEC and one with. And unfortunately, for $5,000 you're more or less restricted to the non-VTEC version, but it still produces a frisky 125 horsepower. So, the Del Sol, it's third on this list, so I don't know, like a C-. So, if you're used to disappointing and always be a little bit worse than the average person, then the Honda Del Sol will certainly fit you. Jokes aside, if you're into like front-wheel drive car, I think the Del Sol is actually quite a nice car and it should actually be considered. Number 2. Mazda Miata. I know some of you guys, you knew this was coming, and don't tell me, I don't want to hear it. I put the Miata second on this list because it's a great car, and I know they are getting more expensive, but don't worry, you'll still be able to find one for less than $5,000. You may say, why is the Miata so great? Well, for the ones of you who have driven one, you probably know why already, but ones who haven't, I will explain to you exactly what makes it so great. The reason it's great is for a variety of reasons. First of all, the Miata provides the ultimate sports car feel. It's super light, got sporty suspension, rear-wheel drive, and it handles magnificently. Surprisingly, for a sports car, it's also very reliable. You can truly thrash the Miata without worrying about things breaking on you, which is not common for a sports car. Unlike, for example, if you had something like a Mazda RX-8. Those things break all the time, and they are expensive. The Miata was introduced in 1989 with the first generation known as the NA. In total, there are 4 generations, with the latest one still being produced in 2022. For $5,000 you'll be looking at either the first generation, NA, or second generation, NB. These ones are either powered by a naturally aspirated 1.6 liter and 1.8 liter in the NA and a 1.8 liter in the NB. Power starting at around 116 horsepower in the 1.6 liter and increasing all the way up to 142 horsepower in the 1.8 liter. And I truly think that the Miata is a living example of how you don't really have to have an abundance of horsepower in order to have fun, because the Miata is capable. I mean, just look it up on YouTube, there are videos out there of stock Miatas lapping M3s on the Nürburgring. I mean, what other car can do that? Not a lot. And I mean, the Miatas won more awards than one can count, and those were not given out for nothing. The summary here is that you can never go wrong with a Miata. So buy one. For some of you hardcore JDM fans, I know this one will upset you a little bit. And not because this particular car ain't great, it's a fantastic car, but more so in the regard of what people consider to be true JDM. I know some of you guys will be like,
Hey,
Well, here's the thing, right? Your mama got a fake ass, but I still like looking at it. Jokes aside, I just wanna spread the good message of Japanese sports cars, and this one is too good to pass on. So, what is number 1? Lexus IS300. For $5,000, I think the Lexus 300 is the perfect car. It has the complete package. It looks amazing, it sounds incredible, it's rear-wheel drive, and despite perhaps what many think, is very reliable. And what else could you really ask for? To be honest, I don't even think it's fair that this car is available for so cheap. It doesn't make sense, but here we are. So what is the IS300 really? The IS300 was developed to compete with the likes of BMW and Mercedes, more specifically the BMW 330 and Mercedes 320 Sport, and I like to claim that Lexus did quite well. Powering the IS300 is a natural aspirated 3-liter inline-6, also known as a 2JZ GE. And while this is a 2JZ engine, it is not the same engine as found in Toyota Supra, since the Supra utilized turbochargers, unlike the IS300. In spite of being naturally aspirated, the IS300 still produces a lively 217 horsepower, and with it you could either have a 5-speed manual or a 5-speed automatic transmission. It had independent front and rear suspension, it was available with an LSD, and it had the reliability of a Toyota. And because it has an LSD, it can do stuff like this. Even today, I've seen the IS300 listed for something like $3,000. It's bonkers. In my mind, it's not even a question on what I would choose. I think the Lexus IS300 is truly the best car on this list.
Please consider subscribing, and if you do, I will embrace you as if you were my own child. And I mean it. Thank you, and until next time.